The storm hit Chicago like a grudge long held, unleashing sheets of rain that hammered the high-rise windows of my Lakeview apartment building with the fury of a scorned lover. I was alone in the dark, the power flickering out just as thunder cracked the sky open, leaving me cursing under my breath as my phone died mid-scroll through a mindless feed of strangers' perfect lives. That's when I heard the knock, sharp, insistent, from the door across the hall, and my stomach twisted because I knew exactly who it was. Alex, the guy I'd spent 2 years avoiding like a bad habit, the one whose very presence grated on my nerves like sandpaper on silk. I'd moved into this building right after college, fresh-faced and full of that naive optimism that gets beaten out of you by city rent and heartbreak. My name's Jordan Hale, 28, graphic designer by day, insomniac by night, and I'd always prided myself on keeping things simple. No drama, no entanglements. That's why Alex Rivera, my next-door neighbor, was the last person I'd ever want crashing my solitude. He was everything I wasn't, effortlessly charismatic, with that easy laugh that echoed down the halls and drew people in like moths to a porch light. He threw parties that spilled into the wee hours, blasting indie rock that vibrated through my walls, and I'd catch glimpses of him in the lobby, tall, broad-shouldered, with ink-black hair that fell just so over his forehead and eyes that seemed to hold secrets he wasn't ready to share. Gay, obviously, from the rainbow pin on his backpack and the parade of dates he'd bring home, but that wasn't the issue. No, the issue was how he made me feel. Exposed, unsteady, like he could see right through the armor I'd built after my ex, Tyler, had ghosted me 2 years back, leaving me questioning every connection I'd ever chased. The first time we'd really crossed paths was at the building's holiday potluck last winter. I'd shown up late, nursing a beer and a grudge against festive cheer, when Alex sauntered in with a tray of empanadas his abuela had taught him to make. Everyone swarmed him, Mrs. Patel from 4B gushing over the spices, the twins from the penthouse begging for seconds, while I hung back, sketching doodles on a napkin to avoid small talk. Then he was there, sliding onto the stool next to me, his knee brushing mine in that accidental on-purpose way that sent a jolt up my spine. "You're the quiet one," he'd said, not a question, his voice low and teasing, like velvet wrapped around gravel. "Jordan, right? I've seen your sketches in the elevator. Got talent, man." I'd mumbled something non-committal, heat creeping up my neck, and excused myself to the bathroom, heart pounding like I'd run a marathon. From then on, it was war. I'd tie my laundry to avoid him, take the stairs when I heard his door open, even started blasting white noise through my headphones at night to drown out his laughter. He was chaos. I was control. End of story. But tonight, with the blackout plunging the building into inky oblivion, that story was about to rewrite itself. The knock came again, louder, and I froze on my couch, the single flashlight from my junk drawer casting erratic shadows across the room. Lightning flashed, illuminating the peephole. Alex, drenched from head to toe, his white t-shirt clinging transparently to the lean muscles of his chest, hair plastered to his forehead, eyes wide with something that looked dangerously like desperation. "Jordan? Hey, it's Alex. My fuse box shorted, total darkness in here. Can I borrow a light? Or, hell, your breaker panel? Please." I should have said no. Should have slid a candle under the door and called it a night. But the thunder boomed again, shaking the floorboards, and in that split second, pity, or was it curiosity, won out. I cracked the door, the chain still latched, and shoved a spare flashlight through the gap. "Here, figure it out yourself." He caught it, fingers brushing mine, and for a moment, neither of us moved. His grip tightened, just enough to hold the beam steady on my face. "Come on, man. It's pouring cats and dogs out there, and my phone's at 5%. 5 minutes. I'll owe you." Against every instinct screaming to bolt it shut, I unlatched the chain. "Fine. 5 minutes." He stepped in, dripping water onto my hardwood like an apology he wasn't ready to voice, and suddenly my sanctuary felt too small, the air thick with the scent of rain and his cologne, something woodsy, like pine after a storm. He shook off like a dog, chuckling softly as he scanned the room. "Nice place. Cozy. You got that whole minimalist vibe. Suits you." I didn't respond, just led him to the kitchenette where my breaker box hid behind a cabinet. As he fiddled with the panel, muttering about tripped wires, I poured us both scotch from the bottle I'd been nursing alone. The ice clinked like tiny accusations in the glass. Handing him one, I leaned against the counter, arms crossed. So what happened? Party too wild and blow a fuse. Alex glanced up, his expression unreadable in the dim beam. Nah, just me tonight. Cooking gone wrong. Tried making paella, but the stove sparked. Guess I'm better at eating than creating. He flipped a switch, and nothing happened. Sighing, he straightened, accepting the drink with a nod. Thanks. To unexpected allies. We clinked glasses, the sound swallowed by another roll of thunder, and for the first time, I really looked at him. Not the neighbor, the nuisance, but the man, lines of exhaustion etching his eyes, a faint scar above his lip from some untold story, the way his shoulders slumped just a fraction, carrying weights I hadn't noticed before. We settled on the couch, the flashlight propped on the coffee table like a makeshift campfire, casting our shadows long and intertwined on the walls. Outside, the city was a ghost, streetlights dead, horns silenced by the gale. Power companies saying hours, maybe till morning, I said, checking my laptop's battery-powered news feed. You're stuck. He leaned back, swirling his glass. Fate's got a sense of humor, huh? The one guy in this building who acts like I'm radioactive, and now we're bunker mates. There it was, the jab, light but pointed, slicing through the awkwardness. I stiffened, ready to fire back, but he held up a hand, eyes softening. Hey, no offense. I get it. I'm loud, intrusive. Blame the Latin blood. My family's all energy, no off switch. But I've always wondered, what did I do to earn the cold shoulder? The question hung there, raw and unfiltered, and something in me cracked. Maybe it was the scotch burning a path to honesty, or the storm mirroring the turmoil I'd buried. It's not you. I lied at first, then amended. Or it is, but not like that. You're everything I'm not. Confident out there. After my breakup, I just shut down. Seeing you thrive, it reminds me of what I lost. Makes me feel like a failure. Alex's gaze held mine, steady, searching. Tyler, right? The finance bro who bailed for the suburbs and a picket fence life. He said it without judgment, like he'd pieced it together from hallway whispers and my own unguarded moments. I knew him, ran into him at a bar once post you. He was a dick, Jordan. Not your fault. The words landed like a lifeline tossed into choppy waters, and I felt the first real thaw. We talked then, really talked, as the night stretched on. About his abuela in Miami, who taught him to cook, but warned him love was a spice too hot to handle alone. About my parents in Ohio, who still sent passive-aggressive emails about finding a nice girl despite the pride flag I'd hung last Pride. Laughter crept in, tentative at first, then freer, when he confessed to spying on my trash for art inspo. Dude, those coffee-stained sketches? Goal. By the time the rain eased to a drizzle, the flashlight battery dying, we'd shared stories that peeled back layers. His fear of commitment after a string of flings that left him hollow, my terror of vulnerability after Tyler's betrayal. But as the storm quieted, so did we, the silence settling heavy with what-ifs. He stood to leave, reluctance etching his features, and at the door, he turned, hand on the knob. Thanks for this, Jordan. For seeing me. His voice was rough, edged with something unspoken, and before I could respond, he leaned in, not for a kiss, but a hug, brief and bone-deep, his heartbeat syncing with mine for that stolen second. He slipped out, the door clicking shut, and I was alone again, but not the same. The power hummed back to life minutes later, lights flooding the room harsh and revealing. But in the glow, I saw it. The neighbor I'd never liked wasn't the villain in my story. He was the plot twist I'd been too scared to read. Dawn crept in pale and unforgiving, the kind of gray Chicago morning that clings to your skin like regret. I woke on the couch, neck crick stiff, the empty scotch glasses accusing me from the table. Last night's blackout felt like a dream, intimate, improbable, but the damp towel Alex had used hung over my chair, a tangible reminder that it had happened. I brewed coffee strong enough to scour doubts, replaying his words, the hug that lingered like a bruise. By noon, I was at my desk, sketching absent-mindedly, lines curving into profiles that looked suspiciously like his, sharp jaw, shadowed eyes, a half-smile that hid storms. Work pulled me under, A rush deadline for a client's rebrand. Pixels blurring into safe abstraction. But focus fractured. Every buzz of my phone yanked me back. A text from my best friend, Mia. Coffee? Spill on that date you ghosted. I hadn't ghosted. I'd canceled, citing fatigue. But really, it was Alex's orbit pulling me off course. Mia knew me too well. 29, queer as a $3 bill, with a laugh that could disarm a room and a no-bullshit policy on my self-sabotage. We'd met at a queer book club 3 years back, bonding over Audre Lorde and bad wine. And she'd been my anchor through Tyler's exit, dragging me to brunches where I'd pretend to flirt with baristas just to see her roll her eyes. I met her at our spot, a corner cafe in Andersonville with rainbow mugs and scones that tasted like home. She slid into the booth, curls wild, eyeing me like a profiler. You look wrecked. Good wrecked or bad? I shrugged, stirring sugar into black coffee, and before I could deflect, it tumbled out. The storm, the knock, the hours that dismantled my defenses. Her eyebrows shot up, then softened into that knowing grin. Alex? The hot tamale next door? Jordan, you've been dodging that man like he's the plague, and now you're mooning? Classic. It's not mooning, I protested, heat rising. Just humanizing. Turns out he's not the party monster I painted him as. Mia leaned in, voice dropping conspiratorial. Or maybe he's the spark you need. Tyler turned you into a hermit crab. Shell up, pinchers out. Life's too short for that noise, especially in this community. We're all just trying not to drown in the bullshit prejudices our own throw at us. She wasn't wrong. Growing up in conservative Ohio, I'd internalized the whispers. Fairy, not man enough. Even as I came out at 17, defiant in my high school art class with a rainbow pin on my backpack. Chicago had been liberation, pride parades that thrummed with acceptance, bars where hands held without question. But Tyler's rejection, I love you, but not like that anymore, had echoed those old doubts, making me question if I was lovable as I was. Quiet, introspective, more observer than participant. Alex, with his unapologetic flair, challenged that mirror. That afternoon, as I walked home, the building lobby buzzed with post-storm chatter. Mrs. Patel complaining about her flooded basement, the super barking orders. Alex was there, handing out batteries from a box he'd clearly bought for the floor, his smile disarming the grumbles. Our eyes met across the space, a current zipping through the air, and he nodded, subtle, like a secret shared. Hey, neighbor. Survived the apocalypse? Barely. I shot back, lighter than intended. You owe me for the scotch. He laughed. That sound again, warm and unforced. And as the elevator dinged, we stepped in together, the doors sealing us in charged quiet. His arm brushed mine, accidental this time, and neither pulled away. At my floor, he lingered. Rain check on that paella? My treat. No sparks, promise. I hesitated, heart a war drum, then nodded. Deal. The door clicked shut on his grin, and I floated to my apartment, the hook of possibilities sinking deeper. Days blurred into a tentative rhythm. Work deadlines eased, freeing evenings for runs along Lake Michigan, where the wind whipped doubts into foam. Mia dragged me to a queer poetry slam at a Wicker Park bookstore, the air thick with verses on longing and loss. I spotted Alex in the crowd, tucked in a corner, his applause thunderous for a piece on hidden loves. Afterward, he caught up to me outside, breath fogging in the chill. Didn't peg you for a poetry guy. Surprise, I said, smirking. What about you? Slumming it with us amateurs. We walked, shoulders sinking, trading lines from the readings like currency. He quoted one about bridges burned and rebuilt, his voice dropping on the last word, gaze flicking to mine with intent. At my building, the goodbye hug was longer, his hand lingering on my back, thumb tracing a slow circle that ignited nerves long dormant. But harmony fractured on Friday. I came home early, arms full of groceries, to find the hall party in full swing. Music pulsing from Alex's door, laughter spilling like wine. Peering through the crack, stupid, invasive, I saw him, shirtless, laughing with a guy whose hands roamed too freely, lips brushing Alex's neck in a way that twisted something sharp in my gut. Jealousy, raw and unbidden, flooded me. I slammed my door, groceries thudding to the floor, and paced like a caged thing. Who was I to him? A pity project? A safe harbor in the storm, nothing more? The music thrummed till midnight, each bass note a taunt, and when it finally died, a knock echoed, soft, apologetic. I ignored it, curling under blankets, but it persisted. "Jordan? It's me. Can we talk?" His voice cracked on the last word, and against my will, I opened the door a sliver. He looked wrecked, hair disheveled, eyes red-rimmed, like he'd been fighting ghosts of his own. "What?" I snapped, arms barred. He winced. "Saw you in the hall. That wasn't. God, it wasn't what it looked like. Eli's an old friend, complicated, but platonic tonight. Flirty drunk, but I shut it down. After the other night, I thought maybe." He trailed off, rubbing his neck. Am I reading this wrong? The vibes, the vulnerability in his stance, the man who'd charmed a building now stripped bare, undid me. "No," I admitted, voice thick. "You're not. But I'm scared, Alex. Of this. Of us blowing up like everything else." He stepped closer, not touching, but close enough for warmth to bridge the gap. "Me too. But hiding? That's what killed my last shot at Real. Let's try, Jordan. Slow. No pressure." His hand extended, palm up, an invitation. I took it, fingers lacing, and pulled him inside. We didn't kiss, not yet, but sat on the floor, backs to the couch, sharing silences that spoke volumes. As he left hours later, foreheads touching at the door, I whispered, "Tomorrow. Coffee. Real talk." The word, "yes," was his reply, and in that breath, the blackout's echo faded, replaced by a light all our own. Weeks wove us tighter, threads of coffee dates and late-night texts stitching the gaps I'd guarded so fiercely. Alex's world cracked open like a well-kept secret. Mornings at his graphic novel shop in Boys Town, where he curated queer comics that tackled everything from coming-out chronicles to dystopian drag revolutions. I'd wander in under pretense of browsing, lingering over panels of characters who mirrored our hesitations. Lovers divided by unspoken fears, friends bridging chasms of misunderstanding. "This one's you," he'd tease, sliding a book across the counter about a brooding artist thawed by a relentless optimist. I'd roll my eyes, but buy it, devouring pages in bed, his laughter haunting the margins. Our first real date was unassuming. A picnic by the lake, turkey sandwiches and craft IPAs under a sky bruised with autumn clouds. He unpacked stories like treasures. Growing up in Pilsen, murals splashed across alleys telling tales his whitewashed schoolbooks ignored. Coming out at 15 to a father who hugged him tighter instead of turning away. A rarity in a community where machismo still cast long shadows. Dad's a mechanic, all grease and gruff, but he marched in his first Pride last year. For me, his pride shone, untainted, and I envied it, sharing fragments of my own. The high school bully who shattered my sketchbook, calling it fag art. The way Tyler's leaving had echoed that destruction, leaving me sketching in shadows. But beneath the bloom, thorns pricked. Mia noticed first, over vegan tacos at her Andersonville walk-up. "You're glowing, but guarded. Like you're waiting for the other shoe." She was right. Every touch, his hand on my knee during a movie at his place, fingers tracing constellations on my palm, ignited joy laced with terror. What if he saw the cracks? The nights I woke gasping from dreams of abandonment. The way prejudice lingered in my veins like low-grade fever, making me question if I was queer enough for his vibrant circle. The conflict crested at a Halloween bash he co-hosted. His shop transformed into a haunted library, shelves groaning under cobweb-draped tomes, guests in elaborate drag, and capes swirling like fever dreams. I arrived as a Victorian ghost, sheet billowing, feeling exposed amid the glitter. Alex, a devilish dandy in velvet and horns, pulled me into the fray, his arm a anchor. "You clean up spectral," he murmured, lips brushing my ear, sending shivers unrelated to the chill. That's when Eli reappeared, costumed as a vampire, fangs glinting, eyes lingering too long on Alex. I'd met him briefly at a prior gathering. Charming, but with an edge, the kind of ex who texts at 2 a.m., just checking in. He cornered us by the punch bowl, glass in hand, voice oily. "Alex, babe, missed you at last week's thing. Brought that bottle you like. Next time?" The endearment landed like a slap, and I stiffened, excuses bubbling. Alex's jaw tightened, but his response was steel-wrapped silk. Eli, this is Jordan. My date. And next time, let's keep it friends only. Eli's gaze flicked to me, dismissive, laced with that subtle homophobia masked as banter. The "you're cute for a quiet" type that belittled without drawing blood. Sure. Just looking out for our boy here. He burns bright, but crashes hard. Don't want you getting singed. I excused myself to the bathroom, pulse roaring, splashing water on a face burning with inadequacy. Staring at the mirror, Tyler's ghost whispered, "See? Not enough." But Alex followed, knocking softly. "Jordan, talk to me." I let him in, the tiny space shrinking further, his presence filling it with urgency. "It's stupid," I muttered, avoiding his eyes. "Eli's history with you, it's none of my business." But the way he said that, like I'm some placeholder, like I'm not. I trailed off, the word enough, choking unspoken. Alex cupped my face, thumbs gentle on my cheeks, forcing connection. "Hey, Eli's projecting, his own mess, not ours. You're not a placeholder, you're the plot I didn't see coming. And screw anyone who makes you doubt that, including ghosts in your head." His forehead pressed to mine, breath mingling. "We're building this, you and me. No crashes. Promise." We emerged entwined, his hand in mine a declaration, and the party blurred into irrelevance. Later, on his fire escape, stars pricking the city haze, we kissed, slow, exploratory, tasting of punch and promise. It wasn't fireworks. It was hearth fire, steady and sustaining, melting reservations into resolve. Yet misunderstandings festered elsewhere. My parents called that week, their Ohio accents tinny over the line, probing about that nice young man from Thanksgiving photos Mia had posted. I dodged inviting Alex, fearing their well-meaning but outdated views. The love is love, but have you tried therapy? Undertones that stung like salt in fresh wounds. "He's great, Mom," I said, glancing at him sketching beside me. "Really great." But doubt seeded. Could I bridge my worlds without breaking? Alex sensed the shift, confronting it over breakfast burritos at a Logan Square taqueria. "You're pulling back. What's brewing?" Honesty spilled. Family pressures, internalized fears of not fitting the ideal gay narrative. Out, proud, unscarred. He listened, then shared his own. The aunt who disowned him for choosing wrong. The community whispers about his promiscuous past that painted him as threat, not treasure. "We carry these biases like heirlooms," he said, squeezing my hand across the table. "But we don't have to polish them. Let's rewrite the story, together." Emboldened, I invited him to a virtual family dinner, nerves jangling as pixels introduced him to Mom's awkward compliments and Dad's gruff approval. "Treat him right, son," Dad said off mic later, voice thick. "World's tough enough without us adding to it." Alex's grin post-call was radiant, pulling me into a hug that chased shadows. But climax loomed, disguised as normalcy. A winter chill descended, blanketing Chicago in frost, and with it, a flu that sidelined me. Feverish, isolated, echoes of past abandonments amplifying in delirium. Mia checked in, dropping soup, but it was Alex who stayed, canceling shifts, brewing tea, reading aloud from that graphic novel till my eyes drooped. In vulnerability, truths surfaced, his fear of losing me to my doubts, my terror of loving too fiercely only to lose. "You're my light in the blackout," he whispered one night, hand in mine as snow tapped the window. "Don't fade on me." "I won't," I vowed, pulling him close, our breaths sinking in the dim lamplight. Recovery brought clarity, but conflict wasn't done. Eli, nursing grudges, cornered Alex at the shop, words twisting into accusations. "He's using you. Too broken to commit. I know your type. You deserve fireworks, not flickers." Doubt wormed back, but Alex shut it down, voice fierce. "My type is him. Back off." He told me that evening, over candlelit pasta at my place. Ironic, the blackout nod. Eli's gone from my life. But I need to know, are we solid? Tears pricked my eyes, not from fear, but release. Solid as this city, unbreakable. We sealed it with a kiss that tasted of future, the storm outside a mere patter against our fortress. Spring unfurled in tentative greens, Chicago shedding its icy skin like an old hurt, mirroring the thaw in our lives. Alex and I had settled into a rhythm that felt earned. Mornings tangled in his sheets, the scent of coffee mingling with his pine cologne, evenings wandering Wrigleyville hand in hand, cheering Cubs games from bleachers sticky with beer and belonging. Pride loomed on the horizon, a beacon I'd once approached warily, but now with him, it shimmered with possibility. Mia dubbed us the Blackout Babies, teasing over group brunches where our friends, his shop crew of tattooed illustrators, my design circle of witty cynics, merged into a tapestry of laughter and shared glances. Yet beneath the bloom, fault lines simmered. Alex's energy, once a draw, began to chafe in quieter moments. He'd planned spontaneous road trips to Milwaukee's art scene or midnight screenings of obscure queer films, his enthusiasm a whirlwind that left me breathless, chasing. Live a little, he'd urge, eyes sparkling, but my introvert core rebelled, craving the solace of sketchpads and solitude. One night, after bailing on a gallery crawl for a migraine, guilt gnawed as he returned alone, buzzed and buoyant. "Missed you," he said, collapsing beside me, but the undercurrent was hurt, unspoken. "You're drifting," Mia observed during our weekly walk in Lincoln Park, cherry blossoms drifting like confetti. Ducks quacked indifference from the pond. "Not drifting, balancing," I countered, but her sidelong look pierced. "Honey, love's not a ledger. Talk to him before resentment builds walls thicker than your old ones." She was right. Silence bred monsters. The breaking point came mid-May, a fundraiser for a local LGBTQ+ youth center, Alex's passion project, where he'd volunteer weekends teaching comics as coping tools. I'd promised to help, but a client crisis ballooned, deadlines devouring days. The night of, I texted apologies, hunkered over my laptop as his event pulsed blocks away. Guilt twisted sharper when my phone lit with photos. Him on stage, beaming amid rainbow-clad supporters, caption, raising voices, one panel at a time. "Wish you were here, Jay?" I showed up late, slipping into the back of the community hall in Wicker Park, the air humming with speeches on resilience against bullying, art as armor. Alex spotted me mid-set, his face lighting like dawn, but as the crowd thinned, his embrace held tension. "You made it. Rough day. Brutal," I admitted, helping stack chairs. Felt like shit missing this. We worked in sync, but words hung heavy. Outside, under street lamps buzzing like fireflies, he stopped me. "It's not just tonight. You've been elsewhere. Like the blackout was a bubble, and now it's popped." The accusation stung, truth in its barbs. "I'm trying, Alex. But your world's so big. Events, causes, people. I get lost in it. Need space to breathe, or I suffocate." My voice cracked, old fears surfacing. Not enough, too quiet, a drag on his shine. His face crumpled, hurt flashing before resolve. Space? Or escape? I thought we were building, not bracing for exit. He paced the sidewalk, hands raking hair. "I push because I care, want you in my chaos, not despite it. But if it's too much..." He trailed off, eyes glistening, the vulnerability a knife twist. Panic surged. This was Tyler Redux, my walls rebuilding unbidden. It's not escape. It's fear of failing you, of us fracturing under the weight. Tears blurred the neon signs. "You're my everything, but I need to be whole first." He pulled me close, rain-threatening sky mirroring our storm. "Then let's carve space together. No pushing, no pulling away. Therapy? Couples counseling at the center, they do it sliding scale." His practicality grounded me, a lifeline. "I love you, Jordan. Messy parts and all." The words, first time voiced, hung sacred, and I echoed them, foreheads touching as drizzle began. "Love you too. Let's fight for this." We did. Sessions in a sunlit office with a counselor named Riley, non-binary and no-nonsense, unpacking biases we'd carried. Mine from conservative roots, his from cultural clashes where tough love bordered cruelty. Revelations flowed. Alex's energy masked anxiety, a hyperdrive to outrun loneliness after his mom's passing young. My reticence, a shield forged in rejection. Friends rallied. Mia hosting debrief dinners, with wine and wisdom, his shop buddy Theo sharing stories of his own rocky queer marriage. Surprises sweetened the strain. For my birthday, Alex blindfolded me, leading to the roof of our building, transformed with string lights, a telescope trained on emerging stars, sketchpads and markers scattered for collaborative art. Our canvas, he said, uncapping a pen. We drew futures, intertwined figures against cityscapes, hearts cracked, but mended with gold. Laughter healed what lectures couldn't. But external tempests brewed. Eli, exiled but vengeful, resurfaced via anonymous posts on a local queer forum. Vague barbs about shop owner playing house with a wallflower, heading for heartbreak. Whispers rippled. At the center, volunteers side-eyeing Alex. Mia fielding concerned DMs. Paranoia crept. Was our love fodder for judgment, prejudices dressed as concern? Confrontation came at a pride planning meeting, rainbows clashing with tension. Eli lurked in the crowd, volunteering with smirks. As Alex pitched a comic booth, Eli interjected, voice syrupy poison. Great idea, but maybe tone down the romance subplot? Some find it unrelatable. Not everyone's cut for the fairy tale. The room shifted, eyes darting, subtle transphobia, internalized homonormativity, but it targeted us, our mismatch, as gossip. Alex's face flamed, but he held steady. Everyone's story matters, Eli, including the quiet ones that bloom loud. I stood then, voice steady despite quake. Love isn't a performance. It's showing up, flaws, fears, and all. If that's unrelatable, that's on you. Applause rippled, solidarity a bomb, and Eli slunk out, tail between legs. After, in the alley behind, Alex crushed me in a hug. Proud of you. That was fire. Our kiss tasted of triumph, rain mingling with tears of release. Pride weekend dawned electric, floats thumping down Halstead, bodies a sea of color and cry. We marched hand in hand, signs reading love in the dark, light in the storm, our story etched in ink. Chants rose, no justice, no peace. But amid the roar, quiet moments anchored, his thumb stroking my knuckles during a ballad, my head on his shoulder as confetti rained. Yet the high crested into crisis. Post-parade, exhausted, we retreated to his apartment for recovery. Takeout, Netflix, tangled limbs. My phone buzzed. Mom, voice trembling. Jordan, honey, Dad had a stroke. Come home. Now. The world tilted, Ohio pulling like gravity. Alex drove me to O'Hare at dawn, grip white-knuckled on the wheel. Go. Be with them. I'll hold the fort. But airport goodbyes fractured. Tears, promises, the fear of distance amplifying doubts. What if this breaks us? I whispered, boarding pass crumpling. On the flight, turbulence mirrored my soul, winds of worry buffeting resolve. Landing in Cleveland, hospital fluorescence stripped illusions. Dad frail in a bed, Mom hollow-eyed. Their love a quiet force I'd undervalued. Brought your young man? Mom asked weakly, squeezing my hand. Next time, I promised, throat tight. Days blurred in vigils and V8S, updates to Alex via spotty Wi-Fi. He's stable. Miss you. His replies anchored, one breath at a time. Love holds. But isolation bred phantoms. Tyler's absence replayed. Prejudices from family friends concerned queries. Still with that. Fellow. Family first, right? Discharge brought fragile normalcy. Dad's rehab a slow march. I extended my stay. Guilt a constant companion. Text to Alex thinning to logistics. One night, video call flickering, his face gaunt. I get it, family crisis. But I'm drowning here, Jordan. Feeling like the side quest. Hurt laced his words, a mirror to my own fears. I'm sorry, I choked. This isn't goodbye. Just pause. But the call ended on static, silence deafening. Returning to Chicago 2 weeks later, the city felt alien, our building a mausoleum of memories. Alex's door loomed, knock hesitant. He opened, embrace fierce but fleeting. Missed you. Over tea, truths tumbled, his anxiety spiking in my absence. Old flings texting support. Temptation rebuffed, but trust frayed. I need all in, or nothing. Can't half love through storms. Tears carve paths. I want all in. But family. It's woven in me, flaws and all. We talked till dawn, prejudices unpacked, his fear of being second to hetero norms, my internalized duty clashing with queer autonomy. Resolution dawned tentative, boundaries drawn, check-ins scheduled, a pact to weave worlds without tearing seams. Healing hummed forward. Dad's progress reports a metronome. Summer solstice found us at a lakeside cabin Alex's dad rented. Rustic, remote, a reset. Bonfires crackled stories. His abuela's tales of resilient lovers. My sketches of horizons shared. Skinny dipping in moonlit water. Splashes dissolving barriers. We surfaced laughing, renewed. Back in the city, surprises sustained. A joint art show at his shop, our collab piece. A Blackout scene morphing to dawn, selling out. Reviews praising raw queer intimacy. Mia's wedding that fall. Us as dates turned best men. Toasts to found families fiercer than blood. But autumn winds whispered warnings. Eli, undeterred, escalated. Leaking altered photos online. Twisting our pride sign into mockery. Forum threads buzzing with token couple jabs. Backlash stung. Canceled commissions for me. Shop boycotts for him. Rage boiled, but Alex channeled it. A public post, vulnerable and vehement. Our love's no token, it's testament. Haters, heal your hurts elsewhere. We're here, holding on. Support surged, donations, DMs of solidarity, turning poison to power. In the aftermath, curled on my couch, he murmured, "We're unbreakable now." Forged in fire. Winter's first snow-blanketed grace, holidays a bridge. Alex meeting my parents in Ohio, charm disarming doubts. Dad's weak grin approval enough. New Year's, fireworks over the lake, his toast sealed it. To blackouts that birth light. To us, the new year dawned crisp and conspiratorial. Chicago's skyline a jagged promise etched against powder blue skies. Alex and I had weathered the gales. Eli's sabotage quelled by community pushback, a restraining order for good measure. But scars lingered, subtle as frostbite. We'd grown, roots delving deeper. Joint therapy now ritual, unpacking not just personal demons, but the societal specters that haunted queer lives. The microaggressions from allies, the exhaustion of code switching at family dinners, the quiet terror that love could be legislated away. Yet in that forging, tenderness bloomed fiercer, our apartment hops evolving to shared lease talks, whispered over midnight pancakes. Work flourished in tandem. My designs landed a queer nonprofit campaign, billboards blooming across the loop with taglines like visible, vital, unapologetic. Alex's shop expanded, a zine corner curated with my input, titles on neurodiverse queerness, immigrant narratives, the intersections we'd learned to navigate. Mia, ever the oracle, hosted a commitment check-in brunch at her new place in Ukrainian village, borscht steaming as she grilled. You two are disgustingly solid. What's the secret? Blackout magic. Laughter, Alex quipped, winking. And therapy. Lots of therapy. Truth, laced with levity. We'd laugh through breakthroughs, like when I admitted my space, needs weren't rejection but recharge, or he confessed his chaos as armor against abandonment. Friends enveloped us. Theo's husband, Raj, sharing South Asian queer wedding lore. My colleague Lena, a trans artist, trading tips on boundary setting with pushy relatives. But spring's thaw unearthed buried frictions. Dad's health stabilized, but follow-ups meant monthly Ohio pilgrimages, me flying solo to spare Alex the drain. Guilt gnawed, our we fracturing into me stretches, and resentment simmered in him, voiced over a rare fight after my third trip. I get family, Jordan, but it's like I'm dating a ghost half the time. Where do I fit in your duty ledger? The words landed like hail, my defenses spiking. Duty? It's love, messy, mandatory. You think I want to leave you behind? Kitchen lights harshened the standoff, voices rising till neighbors' walls thinned the echo. I stormed out, pounding pavement along the lakefront, wind whipping regrets. Waves crashed accusations, selfish or selfless? Hours later, his text, park bench by the lighthouse. Please. He waited, thermos of hot cocoa steaming peace. I'm scared, he admitted, voice raw, of being the accessory to your life story. After Mom, I vowed no half measures. His eyes, shadowed by street lamp, held oceans of loss. Her cancer a thief at 25, leaving him piecing father-son survival. I shared Dad's fragility mirroring that void, the prejudice of man up, edicts clashing with my need to nurture. We reconciled under stars, hands linked, vowing hybrid solutions, virtual date nights during trips, surprise visits. Vulnerability bonded us tighter, but surprises lurked. May brought Mia's bombshell, pregnant, via donor, her joy a contagion that stirred our own futures. Auntie Jordan? Uncle Alex? She teased at the ultrasound reveal, grainy image a miracle. Over dinner, talk turned tentative. Kids? Someday? Alex's grin was cautious. Biological? Adoption? Hell, fostering. Queer families rewrite the rules. But my heart stuttered. Prejudices internalized from Ohio's traditional molds, fears of repeating cycles of absence. The seed planted unease, sprouting in quiet moments. A community panel on queer parenting amplified it, speakers radiant with tales of chosen families, but questions probed privileges, affording surrogacy, navigating bigoted systems. Alex thrived, networking post-event, but I withdrew, sketching dystopias where love buckled under logistics. Climax brewed at a summer solstice retreat, a queer wellness camp in Wisconsin's woods, cabins nestled among pines, workshops on somatic healing and somatic sex, boundaries firm, no erotica. We arrived buzzing, but my silence during a legacy mapping session, charting heritages, hopes, cracked open. I want it all. I confessed to the circle, voice trembling. But what if I'm wired wrong? Too scarred to parent without projecting pain. Alex's hand found mine under the table, squeeze a vow. Later, by the fire pit, embers mirroring eyes, he pulled me aside. Wired wrong. Bullshit. You're thoughtful, Jordan, the dad who'd teach empathy through art, not force toughness. His words, earnest, unraveled me. Tears fell as I admitted the core fear, losing him to someone wholer, unburdened. He cupped my face, thumbs tracing jaw. You're my whole. Kids or no, that's non-negotiable. We kissed under canopy, fireflies winking approval, the night a cocoon for rebirth. Return to city heat brought tests. Eli's shadow lingered, a final jab, lawsuit dropped, but scars scabbed. More pressing, dad's decline, a fall landing him in assisted living, mom's breakdown a siren call. I flew east, Alex insisting on joining this time, his presence a bulwark. Ohio's flatlands felt foreign, but his hand in mine at the facility grounded. Chatting baseball with dad, whose raspy laugh was gift, baking cookies with mom, her tears cathartic as she whispered, he's a keeper. Don't let fear steal this. Back home, gratitude overflowed, but conflict crested unexpectedly. A job offer for me. Remote design lead in New York, salary doubling, queer scene thriving. Excitement warred with dread, uprooting us. Alex's shop rooted deep. Over rooftop wine, city hum below, I broached it. It's a leap. But together? His face shadowed, fork twirling pasta. NYC's siren song, bigger canvas for you. But me? Shop's my heart, community woven in. Silence stretched, prejudices surfacing, my ambition as selfish, his stability as stagnant. Is this flight or fight? He asked, voice edged. Fight. For us, I countered. Remote means flexible. We could commute, weekend warriors. Debate raged, raw. His fear of long distance echoing past losses, my terror of stagnation mirroring Tyler's trap. Dawn broke resolution. Counteroffer for hybrid. NYC base, Chicago anchor, proving love's elasticity. Surprise sweetened. The firm accepted, and Alex pitched a pop-up shop in Brooklyn, bridging worlds. Friends toasted at a farewell not goodbye party, Mia's bump a blessing. To expansions, not endings. Fall foliage framed our move. U-Haul crammed with canvases, hearts fuller. Manhattan buzzed electric, but Chicago weekends recharged, our bicoastal dance a testament. Holidays split. Thanksgiving in Ohio with extended family, awkward questions diffused by Alex's charm. Christmas in the city, trees strung with blackout mementos, flashlight bulbs, storm sketches. Winter's grip tightened resolve, but a blizzard trapped us in NYC, power flickering ominously. Echoes of that first night. Candles, confessions, resurfaced, laughter chasing chills. Full circle, he murmured, arms enveloping. Yet prejudices persisted, insidious. A colleague's joke at a holiday mixer, by coastal boyfriends? That's commitment or crazy, stung, amplifying imposter syndrome. Alex shut it down, fierce, both, and thriving. His advocacy, a shield, but privately, we debriefed, therapy virtual now, unpacking how queer excellence invites scrutiny. Spring equinox heralded harmony. Mia's baby shower, us co-hosting, tiny onesies a playful nod to futures. Dad's video call, stronger, praising our teamwork. A surprise from Alex. Adoption seminar tickets, casual as coffee. No rush. Just exploring. Tears pricked. Love, unpressured. Our pace. I agreed, sealing with a kiss. Summer solstice circled back to Wisconsin camp. Now facilitators, sharing our arc. From blackout strangers to bicoastal partners. Misunderstandings mended, prejudices pruned. Campers' eyes wide, inspired, mirrored our own beginnings. But climax loomed in quiet crisis. Alex's dad diagnosed with early dementia, memories fraying like old film. Grief hitched rides on joyrides, his facade cracking during a Chicago visit. "What if I forget us?" he whispered one night, rain lashing windows. "Then we'll remember for you," I vowed, holding him through sobs. Family converged, Mia with pie, Theo with stories, reminding, love's collective, not solitary. His dad's decline paced our growth, prompting deeper dives, advanced directives, support groups. In it, Alex bloomed resilient, channeling into shop events on elder queer care. I designed materials, our collab a lifeline. Fall's harvest brought bounty, NYC lease renewed, Chicago pop-up permanent. Mia's labor calm mid-meeting, girl, Elena, arriving fierce as her mama. We Skyped the tiny fist, hearts expanding. Thanksgiving in Ohio, dad toasting. To chosen and blood, equally vital. Alex's eyes met mine, brimming. Winter whispered wonders. Engagement? Not yet, but rings sketched, promises pondered. New Year's, Times Square chaos televised. We clinked in our high-rise, vowing. To storms survived, lights kindled. Years layered like city sediment, Chicago and New York blurring into a bicoastal heartbeat. Our love a bridge spanning miles and moods. Elena's toddler tantrums became soundtrack to Mia's calls, her giggles a reminder of joys untaken but savored vicariously. Alex's pop-up evolved to full Brooklyn outpost, murals by local queer artists splashing stories we'd helped amplify. My remote role flexed to mentorships, guiding young designers through portfolios laced with personal narratives, coming out collages, prejudice portraits. We'd sync in hotel lobbies or Amtrak clubs, brief reunions electric as first sparks, sustaining till next overlap. But time's tide tugged, it seems. Alex's dad declined steady, nursing home visits a ritual of songs and stories, his fading Spanish lullabies piercing. One autumn afternoon in Pilsen, amid murals his father had inspired, Alex broke. He forgot my name today. Like I'm evaporating. We sat on a bench, leaves crunching underfoot, my arm his anchor. "You're etched eternal," I murmured, tracing his palm lines. Therapy adapted, grief circles for queer caregivers, where tales of lost parents intertwined with identity losses. Surprises softened sorrows. Dad's remission party in Ohio, a backyard bash where Alex grilled arepas, earning son from my uncles, their gruff nods dissolving old divides. Mia's second, a boy named Kai, us as god-uncles, diapers and debates on non-binary naming a crash course in expansion. Prejudices persisted, shape-shifting. A Brooklyn client pulled a gig after glimpsing my personal life online, not family-friendly branding. The email read, "Code for queer aversion." Rage simmered, but Alex's counsel cooled. Their loss. We amplify louder. We pivoted, launching an indie queer design collective, collaborations with trans creators and BIPOC voices, turning exclusion to ecosystem. Conflict crested unannounced, a winter gale in our Chicago Pi Terra. I'd accepted a full-time NYC embed, 6 months, agency push, without full consult, ambition whispering stability for us. Alex's reaction, over mulled wine by the tree, quiet fury. Consult? Or courtesy? Feels like solo script again. Echoes of early fights resounded, my independence clashing his partnership. Words escalated, snow muffling shouts. I build for us, better life, maybe space for more. My slip, more as kids, landed unintended. He recoiled. Kids? Now. When dad's fading, shop's splitting me. Hurt layered, his unreadiness rooted in orphan fears, mine in legacy longings post-dad scare. Storm raged, doors slamming, me crashing at Mia's, her couch a confessional. Talk roots, not reactions, she advised, Elena's blocks tumbling wisdom. Don found me at his door, apology baked in empanadas, his abuela's recipe, reclaimed. I jumped, scared of stalling, like Tyler's trap. He pulled me in, defrosting over coffee. Scared, too, of losing ground. But kids. Someday, surrogacy maybe. With you. Reconciliation rippled. The embed shortened to quarterly, collective booming. Spring bloomed forgiveness, a getaway to Miami. Alex's abuela's beach house, waves washing wounds. Her tales of 1960s Cuba escapes, queer loves hidden in conga lines, mirrored our arcs. Amor es lucha, she winked, pinching cheeks. Summer's heat wave tested tenacity. Elena's daycare drama. Mia battling biased staff over gender-neutral toys, pulling us into advocacy, petitions, and parent panels. Our voices united, Alex's charisma, my strategy, yielding policy shifts. Pride that year, dual cities. Halstead floats. Then Hudson marches, rainbows redoubled. But high tide hauled undercurrents. A fertility clinic consult, casual as coffee, unearthed depths. Tests revealing my low count. Whispers of donors or adoption amplifying insecurities. What if biology binds us less? I voiced in session, Riley's office now Zoom familiar. Alex's grip virtual but firm, biology's myth. We're chosen, stronger. Surprise countered. His proposal, not grand but grounded. Pills and alley, sunset gilding murals. Ring a hammered silver band etched with lightning bolts. Blackout nod. Marry the mess? Kneeling, eyes oceans. Knees buckled, yes a sob. Engagement buzzed, Mia's planner mode. Hybrid wedding visions. Ohio vows, Chicago reception, New York afterparty. Family converged. Dad teary, wheeling stronger. Abuela flying north, recipes as dowry. Prejudices peaked, cousins traditional qualms, but drowned in toasts. Fall's fanfare, bachelor weekend split. Alex's raucous with Theo's crew, mine introspective hikes with Lena. Ceremony dawned golden, Ohio orchard, trees heavy with harvest. Vows exchanged under arches of wildflowers. From blackout to dawn, I choose you. Flaws, fights, forever. Rings slid, kisses sealed amid cheers, Mia's twins flower-fisting petals. Honeymoon in Key West, conch houses and catamaran sails. Nights hammocked in whispers of futures. Back, realities reeled. Dad's full recovery, a miracle walk. Shop expansions, ours now joint venture. Winter wove wonders, adoption inquiry, fostering first. A teen named Riley, fate's wink. Non-binary artist fleeing home horrors. Home visits hummed tension. Prejudices from caseworkers fit, probes. But our home, bi-coastal but rooted, opened arms. Riley's sketches joined ours, family forged in lines. Climax crested gentle. Elena's 5th birthday, chaos of cake and cousins. Alex catching me mid-laugh, whispering. This, multiplied. My nod, heart full. Surrogacy pursued, circle complete. Years later, storm seasons cycled, blizzards binding, blackouts nostalgic. Our story, etched in novels Alex penned me muse. Designs I inked, him heart, a testament. Love, misunderstood then mastered, prejudices pruned to petals. In quiet eves, his head on my shoulder, Chicago lights winking, I trace our arc. From knock to now, neighbors to nest, strangers to soulmates. The blackout, not end, but beginning. And in its dark, we found our truest light.